Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Post in Black, where we celebrate Black excellence behind the lens. Today, we have a very special episode. We have Kat McAuley in the building, editor and founder of Kemco Productions. Kat, how you doing today?
Great. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing amazing.
Good.
It's awesome to have you here. I appreciate you being here.
It's so great to be here.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you here for a while, so we finally made it happen.
Yeah, and I've been trying to get here for a minute. So I was just like, everyone else is here except me, and I was like, all right, I gotta just reach out.
We here, and we're recording this in Black History Month, even though it's going to air after. So happy Black History Month to you.
Yes, to you too.
Yeah, yes. It's a blessing. Now, as tradition,
Black History Year. For
Black
me,
History Year. Oh, come on.
I'm like every day.
Black History Year. Yeah, you know, just like my mom always said, you know, Mother's Day is every day. And what are you talking about?
That's
Mother's
a good way
Day,
to get presents all
Mother's
the
Day is
time.
every day, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, you know, you've seen the show, you heard the show. We always like to start with an icebreaker, just kind of we're easing into it. This is a conversation. It's fun. Can we do that?
Yeah,
all right. So if you're going to be 100 with us, what are the best and worst purchases you've ever made? When you think about it in life, you're like, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have did that. And then, oh yeah, I love that.
Oh, best and worst.
Yeah.
In life, man, that's a long time.
It could be last year.
Okay.
Or pandemic. We was all buying stuff on Amazon we didn't need.
Oh my God. That's why I'm thinking, because I had boxes set up, and then I went through the boxes and one thing comes to mind. I bought this like mini washing machine. Yeah. And I had it in the box for like 2 years and I didn't open it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
A mini washing machine.
Yeah. And so then it's so funny. I opened it and then I just resold it really quickly. But if I had all these things that I was reselling, worst purchase. This is a good question. Best purchase would have to be best purchase. My rescue dogs, getting my those are my babies. Yeah,
oh, wow.
My rescue pets.
Awesome. How long have you had them?
Oh wow, there's a few. Well, Chongo is the OG. He's actually off. I get dogs off the street too, so that's like. So he was a chow. Had a lot of issues, but he's a great dog. And then there's Rudy. Rudy's about 11 years old. He's the OG. And then we have Bowie, the cat.
Wow.
Named after the school I went to, Bowdoin, but also David Bowie. And she's crazy. And now I have a new member, Coda.
Wow.
Who is a German Shepherd who goes about up to my waist. Just normal. And, you know, when he puts his...
Shows all the love.
Ears. Yeah, he's like above my head. So
wow.
He's a big boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So, yeah.
Those are great purchases. I like that.
Yeah.
And a mini washing machine, my mind was just going, I was like, what is that?
I know. I don't know why that came to mind, but I was like, okay, I'll go with it. You're going to be like, okay, that's the
No, but
purchase.
that's I'm intrigued now. Now it's like, I'm going to look at that on Amazon. Like, what is it? What does that look like? What is it? You know what I mean? I thought of like when people have those playtime setups when they're children. Yeah. You know, like they got the tea and all that. That's what I was thinking of, like one of those.
That probably would have been better.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very impetuous. So, you know, during quarantine, I was by myself with my pets. So I'm like, you know, you can't, you know, interact with the world. Right. So I was like, I'm going to just buy everything that I see. So I needed a washing machine too, because, I didn't want to go out. So, but like I said, I never really unpacked it because one thing I'll do is I'll buy something and then I look at all the reviews.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then the negative reviews start taking over. So, you know, and then they were like, it's a whole thing where you have to put it like in your bathtub and, you know, where it goes out, the dirty and the clean. Like, and change all. So I was like, it's too much. So I just bought like a washer and dryer and I have a little setup outside. So, you know,
Right. No, thank you for playing along and just sharing that. Yeah.
That was a good one. I was like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah. I'm sure when I get home, I'll think of so many other things that I bought that are a disaster. But, you know.
Nah, you started off great. And now we get to know you a little bit more. And obviously we are welcoming you again to Post in Black because we're here to talk about just your career and just how you even got into post and everything. So you told us a little bit about it with the school being named after, obviously, situation. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Oh, that's going to be good. I'm actually from Portland, Maine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so when I say that, usually in a room full of Black people, it's like,
like, were there any Black people in Portland, Maine?
Exactly.
Yeah, because we heard of Portland, Oregon, but Portland, Maine, wow.
I know.
What was that like?
Portland, Oregon was named after Portland, Maine. because the person who discovered Portland, Oregon, was from Portland, Maine. So,
Come on.
yeah, and also Otis Howard, who discovered Howard University, was from the school I went to in Maine, Bowdoin College. I used to give the tours.
Ooh, we are dropping nuggets here on Posting Black. My goodness, what was it like growing up in Portland, Maine?
Oh my God. Luckily, my grandmother had tons of kids. She had like 8 kids. Adopted one, and so my cousins were kind of like my best friends. So when you have family as best friends, it's weird when you leave that because you know how life can be.
Right.
So I'm like, but we're best friends. We're family. We're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So so that was, but obviously it was challenging, because I think I was born with this very Afrocentric mentality, and I knew like. They would, like in school, teachers would say things and I would rebut it. And they would be like, you're in detention, but I'm in detention for thinking outside the box. And my mother would come and get me and she'd be like, what is she in detention for? They couldn't say anything. It's just because she's proud to be Black. Wow. So, and then my stepfather came to be, in the equation. And at first we were doing everything to get rid of him. Like we were like a little terror squad, like, kind of like that Ice Cube movie.
Yeah,
we were like a times 1,000 and me with the ringleader. And, but then he knew how to get everyone. So he just kind of studied us and we were like, man, why is he looking at us? Like, don't be weird, right? And then he gave my sister art supplies. My brother was really into trucks and stuff. So he gave him something. He gave me the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Wow.
And it changed my life.
Wow.
Right then and there. Yeah.
That is an awesome story, and I'm so intrigued. Obviously, my brother he went to school in the Northeast. He went to school in Boston, and so obviously I've heard of Portland, Maine before, but it was just so interesting. And I think like when you see people from those areas, you're very intrigued at like what the upbringing was, and now being in Los Angeles, working on Black shows, everything like it, it's like, where does the foundation come from? Only Black content, all of that. I saw something, I'm jumping around a little bit, but obviously your upbringing there. I saw something based on your career that one of your first IMDb credits was 2010.
2010.
Yeah, Money Hungry. That was a project back then.
Oh yeah. Oh, for Post.
Yeah, for Post.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Post.
Oh my God.
But so you didn't always start in Post. You started in entertainment in a different regard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started off as an actor.
Okay.
And I was modeling and acting in New York. It was, in essence, so funny. I was like doing a lot of things. I was just like, it was so funny. And then just studying and just really, I had my whole grind. Like I was gonna, be an actor, get discovered, and then start, my own production company because I didn't want to work for anyone else. And then I would start like, one of my main things was writing. And Barinholtz, he discovered the Coen brothers, wrote Spike Lee his first check. He was mentoring me in New York with my writing. So I was on a certain trajectory, And it's interesting, my time in New York, because it was, I think it was a tale of, and this is what I tell a lot of people, like, believe in yourself, because I don't think I believed in myself enough. So a lot of people were seeing I was getting these opportunities and they were coming in my head and, weirding me out. And so I came out here and I said there would come a time, because I felt I was a filmmaker. Because in New York, you're a filmmaker, so you can do everything.
Right.
And Spike Lee had a group where there would be an email list. So if you were hungry, you need a job, it's like you go on that list. If you're one of the people, someone gets you a job that day.
Okay.
It's like, I have a PA position, whatever, And it was really great. And also if someone needed crew on the weekends, so there's so many people, I would just go and, crew up on the weekends because they're like, we need PA, we need someone can you cook, It's like, not really. Well, can you stir the pot, It's like we were all just doing stuff. Yeah. And through that whole network, I met Leander Sales. And Leander Sales is the one who got me into Post.
That's incredible. And I that's why we do this. We love, because it's so intriguing. It's like, this no path is the same.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Really
like,
funny.
Go to Portland, Maine, and I'm actor, modeling in Essence. I'm in New York. And then I get into this group and then I get sparked into something else, even a little bit similar, to my brother with going to Berklee College of Music.
Oh, wow.
He went for music. Yeah. He went for composition, all that. He was playing the piano, trumpet, all these different things. But then they were watching films, and that's how he got intrigued. He's like, wow, I love how music is incorporated into the films. I never looked at it like this. I want to actually put the films in there. Yeah. And so he came out here to LA, post-production school, Video Symphony, now closed in Burbank. Yeah. And that's how he got involved.
Yeah, I did Moviola.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. So that's crazy. But Leander is a great guy. You bring him up. You know, what was that like to get involved in post? Because we've had him on the show, and he's been such a supporter of us. Yeah. What was it like meeting Leander, and what intrigued you most about getting into post?
Okay. Leander is so funny. He's a great person. And one of the things I remember is like everyone was like, okay, I'm kind of not the way I am now. I was very Pollyanna, but black. You know?
Okay. Gotcha.
So, but I was like this militant at the same time. So it was really funny. I would have these big, like, you know, bows in my hair. Yeah. And, you know, Laura Ashley dress with like ballet slippers. And I'm like, fight the power. It was like, what the fuck, you know? I remember my first day in New York, I was Caribbean Day Festival. And Spike Lee's like, psst, psst, Dorothy, what the hell are you doing over here? You're going to get killed, you know? And so it's like, that actually was the first time I met Leander, because Leander was there. Wow. And then it's like through that network that, you know, happened, because if you were black, there's only so many black filmmakers in New York. Yeah. So everyone was helping everyone out. And so I remember Leander was like, "You ever been to a black movie theater?" You know, because I was from Maine. And I was like, "No."
And what's a black movie theater?
Ooh, you don't know?
No, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, I know.
No, it's sure. Like, it was like, so it's like, so it's like, it's just in a predominantly black area, you know, like Magic Johnson out here.
We know.
Yeah. So it was really funny because he was like, "Okay, go see the movie first at another theater, and then we're gonna go," because everyone was talking, and it's like I was laughing so hard. It's like going to like open comedy. People are like out of their seats.
Oh no, it's a show within the show.
Yeah, it really was. And I was just like, okay, so that like bonded us for friends, and we've kind of been friends, you know, for life since then.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. You talk about black theaters. I remember like when I was younger and I couldn't drive. We got dropped off at the theater. And I would hate going to the theater in my neighborhood because there was always something. There'd be fights or people would come into the theater. I remember once, like distinctly, he was like, "Anybody riding with Chris better come out the theater now." And I'm like, why are they talking to the theater? Like, it was always something. So I used to like want to drive. Once I got the license, I would drive to like a different neighborhood and try to go to movies there, because I was like, I just want to watch the movie without any foolishness. Like, they would have a fight and then they shut the movie off and then you wouldn't be able to watch it. Like, that was a regular. So you said that it was like triggered something. I was like, oh no.
I know. See, but for me coming up from the outside, I was like, this is better than the movie. Who cares about the movie? You know?
Oh man, I was like, I'm tired of this.
I know. I was like, that's one thing about social media. It's like, you know, there's just so much talent out there. You know. Yeah. And I know some people get mad about it, but I'm just like, there's just so much talent out there that's not. Yeah. You know, like the Hollywood blessing or whatever you have to get to you know, do this work. Yeah, it's just I love social media because people can just, you know, put up a camera and do their thing.
They do it, especially nowadays. Yeah. Now I'm touching back a little bit more. Like when Leander was talking to you and actually got you into the guild, you know, the mindset of being an actor and then switching to post. What was so intriguing about post that made you say, you know, this could be for me?
It's so funny because I always consider myself a filmmaker, and I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to get there, right? Because it's still my goal to have my own production company, you know, and because I'm from a family of people who own their own companies and stuff, they didn't work for other people. Yeah. So for me to work for other people, I'm just kind of like, you know, like side eye, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like eventually, you know. So I see that, but no, it's like, you know, Leander was like, you know, working for Spike and everything. So you go around that magic, and also, you know, he's very, you know, passionate about what he does.
Yes, he is.
And then Spike Lee was having a lot of the, he would have these like free lecture series that he would do.
Yeah.
So I remember meeting Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese's like, oh, do you guys want to go get coffee with us? We're just like, because we stayed to the end. We were just like, we're actually going to get coffee with Martin Scorsese. It was just like, and at the time you don't know how big, well, I didn't know how big that is.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like, that he was putting like just normal people onto it. But we kind of fell in love with filmmaking. And then I saw that everything gets deposited at post. So I see all of it.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to say you're a great director, but you know what? I see all the outtakes. No, I'm kidding. You are a great director, but you know what I mean? Or a great actor or whatever. It's like, I'm putting that, I'm working to put that together.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So, but no, it's like, one thing that I've been really blessed with is like, with the jobs I've had, like incredibly and surprisingly talented, people. I'm like, okay, this is the big thing working on white shows versus black. Black people come in knowing their lines. It's like, I was just like, what? It's like, that's a big difference that I've noticed.
Wow. That could be something to the point, and coming again from an actor standpoint, where you don't always get those opportunities. So you can't blow that situation. Whereas some of our counterparts, it's like, oh, I didn't until I started casting a project, I didn't know actors didn't show up for auditions.
Yeah.
I was like, I have 10 names on the list and 3 people showed up. What is that about? But when it's like, oh, whatever, it's just a casualness to the approach versus for us, I think it's like, no, we can't. Oh yeah. We can't do that. Is it the same for you, like in post, like even getting opportunities from your first opportunity that you got up until now, where you're working as an editor on some pretty known shows? One of my favorite shows, Snowfall, you know what I mean? Like BMF, my girlfriend watches that all the time. Yeah. Like there's shows that you're watching now that are really impactful. What was it like? Like, what was the journey like from working on your first project to now you're working on these network shows? Like, can you believe it in a way?
It's so funny. It's like, all right, I was always so intentional with things. If someone asked me, okay, this is kind of funny, and I don't want it to sound arrogant.
No.
But it's like, I get so focused on things. And there was another editor, and she was like really worried about getting her next job. I had my next job lined up and stuff. And she's like, oh, interviews, they make me so nervous, whatever. And I'm like, when I go into interview, I'm always thinking, am I going to be the first on, second on, or third on? And it's weird because I shouldn't be that confident. Yeah. But I'm like, I interview for things I really love, so I'm really excited about it. So I don't, and that's the way I was as an actor too. And so I didn't get, like, a lot of actors would get really depressed, and I was like, ooh, but I know I nailed that. And look, like, they picked a white guy for it because I used to actually go to auditions that were nondescript white men. Yeah. So I could audition more. So I'd be the only black person in all these, like, heavyset white dudes. Yeah. And I wouldn't get it, but they would use something that I did. And I remember even Kevin Bacon actually saved my ass with my agency because I didn't get this part, but he called them, or his assistant called them, and said what a great job I did. And the only reason I didn't get it was because the studio, they fought for me, but they wanted a white male. So I don't know. I always had this thing in my head where when I go for things, I don't think of like that, like, even if I don't get it, I don't think like, all right, like, oh, what was me or whatever. I'm like, okay, what did I do good there? What did I do? What could I do better? It's always, I don't know. It's always been that kind of vibe with me. So yeah,
I like that. That confidence, and then being intentional with even your words, what you tell yourself, like. Yeah. You're going into it like, oh, I know I'm going to be on a project. It's just a matter of what I'm doing. Yeah, I know, right? You know what I mean?
And I thought everyone did that. And until this woman said it, we were on the same show, and she said it to me, and I was like, doesn't everyone kind of do that,
With the two different, like, it's like two different mindsets you're getting to play with here. The actor confidence and seeing in front of the camera and having that modeling experience, and then having that foundation with Leander and then Spike Lee and tea or coffee with Martin Scorsese after the fact. Yeah. And then now working on these shows. Is there a question about posts that you haven't been asked that you wish you were, or that was answered for you once you started working in it more? You were like, oh, I wonder why people like that are trying to get into post, they don't ask that. You know what I mean? Because like even with the interview process, somebody's going into something, you watch them. How I equate it to is people say people in LA are fake.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't really think people are fake. We just don't have time to tell you what we think you should already know.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, you've been out here and you're doing all this stuff, and it's like, oh, you doing that? Okay. Unless it's like I really rock with you 100, I don't have time to actually like tell you everything, especially if you're gung-ho and doing it.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, well, you're going to find out. That's not the way you should go. Like, is there a question about getting into post or working on a show or anything like that, or interview process that you would like, that may help somebody for their interviews? Or I don't know if I asked that question correctly. If you're listening, I'm sorry for going in the circle there.
Oh yeah, no. I think the thing is like, maybe I could help out. Like, I don't know if there's a particular question, because I probably have been asked it, because I do a lot of mentoring. So people, I talk to a lot of people. But okay, this is, I mean, I can say one thing in terms of people getting in that I've noticed. It's like a lot of people will say the right things, and they're into the whole presentation of wanting to really do this, and then the work behind it. I'm like, okay, so are you dedicating the time? Like, one thing I'll do is like, I've taught some classes, because when COVID came around, I was not sure where I was going to be, because I was like, I mean, to be real, I was really frustrated with a lot of the microaggressions of post-production, because it was like kind of the last bastion that we were integrating, and because it was behind the scenes, it's like it wasn't happening as quickly. I mean, when we went into COVID, we had like a 3% representation or something, which was really low. So I did a lot of activism. A lot of people with groups, I did kind of the activism of one. I was just like, all right, we need more Black female editors and assistants. So I did a summer editing, mentorship. And I got people like James Wilcox and Simon Smith from Chernobyl, and a lot of great people, and they dedicated their time because of it during COVID. And so then, for us editors that were, assistants that were moving up to editors, and then we pull someone else up. So, and everyone from that group is now working, so, which is great. Everyone's working in the industry who took that class. So then I did another one. I couldn't do it as like going in as heavy, but I did it for assistants, and it was a 6-week intensive.
Wow.
And I'm strict. I was like, you miss a class without letting me know, you're out. People would be like, oh please. I was like, no, it's like if you just don't show up for work, you're not gonna have the job. Yeah. So I was like, I'm not gonna charge you for this, but at least you can show up. Yeah. So I started with 12 people, ended up with 4 for that one. Hey. Yeah, but the 4 people, one of the gentleman, Perry Pang, he's gonna be assisting me on my next project. Yeah. So and the very last thing we did was, I was like, you got to do turnovers. So, so everyone out there would be familiar with that. But but that's a big thing, is like, have the work ethic. And also, if you're talking to an editor, anytime I interviewed, I always knew what the editor worked on. I watched it. Yeah. Like, also, if I'm interviewing, I know what I'm interviewing for, because I'm very intentional with what I want. Right. And when I was in reality, I was like very unhappy. And there was an editor from Scripted, and he told me like, like you're this is the blueprint of your life. People are gonna look back and they're gonna see this, like you saw, where I came from. Yeah. And he's like, you want it to reflect you as a person, and you don't want to have things that you are ashamed of. So I just started going forward in life like that. So every time I go into something, it's like, because there are a lot of times they're like, oh, we interview people and they haven't even watched the show. You'll get found out pretty quickly. Yeah. In this industry. One of the things, I work with Amy Aniobi and Super Special and her team. So I was a producer on a couple of her shorts recently. So we just wrapped one. But one of the things she said, it was really cool. But one of the things she said, she's like, when we were on set, Insecure, one of the directors came on and was like, when somebody's phone rang, he was like, answer it and tell them you're available. And I just bust out laughing, because it was like, it was so funny. But it's like that seriousness to the craft and that intention you're talking about when somebody shows up. I was going to ask, but I think you said it there. What makes a good editor when you were teaching these people, these editors? What were some of the things, additional things besides work ethic you were telling them? Oh, yeah. Oh, well, in terms of teaching, I was actually mentoring. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was actually one of the mentees. Oh, wow. Because that was the funny thing about it. And they were like, the fact that you would take this upon yourself and do this, because I just got frustrated with what our guild wasn't doing. And I just got tired of going in rooms and arguing with people about what should be done. And that's why I was like, for everyone, I think the one thing is the power of one. If you really want to do something, like, you know, because I know I helped add to the number of, you know, Black people in post-production. And that's what I wanted to do. And I knew there was an opening. And it's like, you know, it's so sad that Black people have to die for people to get aware. But George Floyd, because I was already before George Floyd, I actually sent out a notice and I said, can people share their stories about being in post-production? And I was like, I won't use your name. So I wrote one letter with about 20 different voices. And I handed that into the union before George Floyd. And, you know, they were like, you know, it was like, oh, interesting letter, you know, or whatever. You know, it's like, oh, did you make it up? And it's like, no, these are things that are really happening in post-production that we need to start addressing as a union. And George Floyd died. And then people started becoming intentional about, you know, making diversity not mean white men and white women, because white women was diversity. So you have a whole white crew and you're just there like, okay, how was that inclusion? So I also got together with some other like producers. I worked with Better Things, Pamela Adlin. Pamela Adlin actually was the one who referred me to Lena Waithe. So my first show was 20s. So it was a different way of going about it because I had a really great relationship with the showrunner and the producer. And one of her producers came with me and a writer and another person, and we put together like a pamphlet for how to integrate post organically. And a lot of times with different organizations, they want to be part of it. We were like, here, you can have it, you know? And we saw a lot of people revamping their inclusion and, you know, using some things. And it's like, you don't have to be credited, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's you just want to make that change. And so that's why I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go out by myself and do these little things. And, you know. You got
to trailblaze. You know what I mean? You got to get out there if you can't wait sometimes for it.
And participate. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do it. And it's like we have a window or opportunity a lot of times, you know, when we're back in. So you have to like get as many people in the door as you can,
as
you know?
Can.
It's like,
I mean, I was telling somebody, it's a feeling sometimes you have, you know, I felt a couple years ago, I was like, oh, I'm at a real, like, this is a juncture where it's very important because there's a window that's opening. If I don't make this move now, it's not going to happen. It could happen, but it may not happen the same way. And then it may take a little bit longer. But you know, the three most popular letters after George Floyd were DEI, you know what I mean? Like diversity, you know, like just all these diversity, equity, inclusion, everything just popped off. Speaking of everything you've done, I want to fast forward a little bit here. We're not going to take up all your time and everything, but you're working on some pretty cool shows, pretty popular shows. What is a day-to-day like for you? And how do you have the balance to work on these things? What's the mindset when you're going into work on All American Homecoming, or when you've worked on Snowfall or film? What is the process for you as an editor? Because there's so many different perspectives.
Oh, I just want to clarify. I was still an assistant on Snowfall.
Oh yeah, assistant. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's what I meant.
I just wanted to make sure. But I love that show. I would have loved to edit on it.
I meant assistant editing.
I tried. It's like I would get my scenes in. My editor was really great on that show. But on like BMF and it's like it's so funny because when I worked on BMF, we had a showrunner. His name was Randy, and his name is still Randy, and he was he was just great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, I intentionally work on Black content, and I like to work with Black creators. You know, because I'm like, we've been waiting so long to tell our stories. It's like I want to hear it through our lens, you know, and I mean, I love my job, you know. It's like it's so funny because I was talking to my sister and some other people in my family, and everyone was talking about retiring, and I was like, it never crossed my mind that I would actually retire. I thought I would just like kind of die doing this, you know what I mean? Because I'm like I can see myself doing it, you know what I mean? Thelma Schumacher is still. You know what I mean? Killing it. And I look at people like that. I met her. It's amazing. I couldn't believe she took my hand. And she was like, it's like, oh my God, she's like editing royalty. And, you know, it's like, but yeah, she's so full of life and vibrant, and she's like 83 years old.
Right.
You know? And yeah, I mean, I go in but I love what I do because I'm being intentional about the kind of projects I'm going to work on. I see so many people phoning it in because they're just like, and you've talked to them about the show they're working on. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever, and they don't care.
Wow.
And
you don't want to have like a career like that. If you can control it, like obviously you want to take care of your bills and all that, but you want to have a job where you enjoy going to work and doing what you're doing and feel proud about it.
Right.
I feel like that when I follow you, we follow you on social media.
Yeah.
I feel like there's joy and excitement about the shows you're doing.
Oh,
where
yeah.
You don't mind like sharing like, hey, look, I just cut this episode tonight, or I'm working on this. Like I feel like that. I get that vibe from you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's why I love doing it, and with, Homecoming, it was like the topics that, going to HBCU, I did go to, Howard for a semester, my semester away. And it just like, one thing I told the showrunners is like when I went in, when I stepped on the campus at Howard, it's something that I hadn't experienced before. Like my shoulders, like I carry a lot of tension here. All of a sudden, everything dropped like an inch. It was like, this is what it's like to be the majority.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, and I think that kind of cinched the interview for me. We talked about that, and because I think they expected another response. But they were talking about like bomb scares and things like that, and traffic stops and things like, yeah, I mean, I've been stopped, and like not harassed to the extent that they were in this episode, but definitely like harassed. And so there's things that I can relate to on a personal level. So
I think that's really powerful, like being able to relate to the content you're doing. We've done interviews with Daisha Broadway. She worked on Whitney Houston Want to Dance, and talked about like being a fan. Obviously, I want to do a big project. I want to work on a feature, but like I am a fan first. I'm really excited about this. Isha Horn is a good friend of mine. She worked on 20s and just being in that.
She worked with me.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I met you guys. Yeah, she worked with you, and like she was talking about just being in that vibe, like that energy, seeing the young, like relating those conversations. That energy is just something that's really dope. I hope on my side too to be able to like work on projects like that you're proud of, not just like, oh, I gotta get a check. I think that's powerful.
There's a group called Optimize Yourself, and it's a lot of things I was already doing, but it's kind of cool because it kind of shows creatives how to be very intentional, and you have some people in there who are going on IMDb and they're reaching out to like people that they really want to talk to and getting responses. So it's like, I think that Hollywood is so much about telling us things are out of our reach. Yeah. And I bought that for a while, and okay, really interesting story. When I first went to New York, my very first time, right? I went to this club and Prince was there. And I just stepped over the little rope and went over to Prince, told him that we were born on the same day. And long story short, I ended up partying with Prince and Sheila E. and all these people that night. But I didn't know I couldn't do that and I shouldn't do that. So throughout his life, when he saw me, he's like, Kat, it's so weird. And my boyfriend didn't believe me at one point. And then we ran into him and he was like, I'll be damned,
Like,
because because he invited us into this thing. And it was just really funny. But it ended up being something that was just really cool, like for so many years,
Yeah.
But I was like, I didn't know that I shouldn't step over that rope, and because I didn't know, and I would look so naive, he was like to the bodyguard, I said, no, let her come, and I was pulling my friend behind me at the time. He was like, what are we doing,
Yeah.
But I think a lot of my life has been not knowing that I shouldn't do certain things. Yeah. And doing it anyway. And I think that people, if they have that freedom, like put the work ethic behind it, but go up to someone that makes you uncomfortable. What are they going to do? Say, get away from me? Okay, fine. You turn around and, sometimes you get that. But you still have to try to, meet your heroes and to go where you want to be. Even if you're an actor, it's like go up to someone, who like Spike Lee's around, like, hey, I really love your work and stuff like that. You might say that line that just really, resonates with him, and he's a creator, so he feeds off of like your love,
Yeah.
you know, of his art, you know. So
That's
I don't
powerful.
know.
There's a word. I mean, that was almost like you actually closed us with what I was going to ask you, just
Oh,
like
really?
some advice. What you just said was really like powerful, and it hit for me. It's like there's a freedom and just making a decision, and you just don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what's going to happen? I think we're so many times we're restricted by fear,
Right.
and so I think just recapping everything
Yeah.
from your experience growing up, Portland, Maine, New York, actor, Essence, Spike Lee. It's like the audacity, but it wasn't audacity.
Yeah.
It was just your norm. Audacity
Yeah.
was your norm. You know, going to Howard, like, okay, cool. And then Leander, and like putting, like they implemented things inside of you, which was like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can't be an actor and model, but I can go post. Oh, I want to work on things that are powerful, that intrigued me, and I'm going to ask these
Right.
questions. I want to help. So it's like you're not waiting for opportunity, you're taking it.
Yeah.
I think that's fire. We probably gotta get a part two. But if people want to be inspired and just follow what's going on with you, where can they follow you? Social media? What can we do?
Oh yeah, I'm all over IG, and
Yeah.
I'm really into animal rescue. So
Okay.
if you want to foster a pet, even
Yeah.
for a few weeks, it's like we need it right now.
Wow.
It's just crazy what's happening, the abuse. Even my 2 weeks off, I have a rescue dog
Mm-hmm.
that's sleeping in the car right now because he was so tired from the park that he didn't want to get out, and so I'm bringing him to an airplane so he can fly out to meet his forever family.
Wow.
So yeah, so I really think that's important, like finding something that, you know, is outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting involved with that, and just, you know, I think Denzel Washington said it, you know, like have a life outside of this,
Yeah.
so you can infuse that in,
Exactly.
and that makes your art even,
Yeah.
you know, better and more relatable.
Kat, no, this has been amazing. This has
No,
been amazing.
great.
It's a pleasure to have you, and just you sharing your story, and just all these tidbits of gems and wisdom. And obviously, we're
I
gonna
hope so.
keep it going. We're gonna keep talking to you, but really appreciate you being here for
Oh,
us.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you
Right.
so much. And then for those of you that are tuning in and watching and listening, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Posting Black. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels. Make sure you click the subscribe button and listen to wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify. We love it all. Appreciate the support, and until next time, stay black.